in shady green pastures, so rich and so sweet. God leads his dear children along where the waters cool flow, bathes the weary one's feet. God leads his dear children along. Sometimes on the mountain where the sun shines so bright, God leads his dear children along. And sometimes in the valley, in the darkness of night, God leads his dear children along. Some through the fire and some through the floods, some through the fire, but all through his blood. Some through great sorrows, but God, he gives a song in the night season and all the day long. Some through the waters and some through the floods, some coming through the fire, but all come through God's blood. Some through great sorrows, oh, but God gives a song in the night season, in the night season, in the night season, and all the day long. Father, let the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be made acceptable in thy sight, in your sight, and your sight alone, Lord. You are our strength and our Redeemer. This is our prayer, God, that your word go forth, never ever to come back void, but accomplish the purpose for which it is sent, as a two-edged sword cutting between the marrow and the bone, finding sin and sorrow, hiding in hidden away crevices. There, God, shine your light as we consider your word. In the name of Christ we pray, God, and we give you thanks. Let every heart say together, amen.
Everything is on schedule.
Have the spies been alerted?
Yes. Some resistance to ammunition, but the war dogs in London, New York, and Hong Kong are standing by.
We'll strike there first. The others will come around. Look at this. A handheld sonic cannon, powerful enough to stop a tank. And traceable by metal detectors. And we got thousands of them. The world's gonna find out exactly who we are.
What's up? I never yielded. And as you can see, I am not dead. All that challenge over with. I'm the king now. Get those brains in the air. Carry out the mission. Shoot it now.
I want to direct your attention today to the book of Job, the 13th chapter, and I want to read verses 15 through 18. Job, the 13th chapter, verses 15 through 18. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Ruth, 1st, 2nd Samuel, 1st, 2nd Kings, 1st, 2nd Chronicles, Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes. So go back to Job. Job 13, verses 15 through 18. Though he slay me, yet will I serve him. I will surely defend my ways to his face. Indeed, this will turn out for my deliverance. For no hypocrite would come before him. Listen carefully to my words. Let your ears take in what I say. Now that I have prepared my case, I know I will be vindicated. Sermonic emphasis on verse 15. Though God slay me. NIV says, yet will I hope in him. King James says, yet will I serve him. Scripture as it is written is always our prayer that God will bless us in the reading and the hearing of his most holy word. And today I want to begin a new sermon series that's going to carry us through the fall, probably right up into the Thanksgiving holiday, under the general topic title of Faith for Uncertain Times. Faith for Uncertain Times. And this is part one from this text here, subtitled Never Yielding. Never yielding. Chadwick Boseman lived those words from that classic scene out of the Black Panther movie, his signature film, and what was to this day the greatest superhero film from the Marvel series, grossing more than $1.3 billion, more than The Incredible Hulk, more than Iron Man, more than Aquaman, more than Hawkeye, more than Black Widow, more than Ant-Man. It was Black Panther. And what we did not know at the time is that it was while filming Black Panther that he was diagnosed with colon cancer that was already at stage 3 and very aggressive. And over the next 4 years, until his demise, he filmed 7 other movies while going back and forth between surgeries and chemotherapy. And in his whole life, particularly those latter stages when a man should have been in the zenith of his life, on the rise. He had not reached his peak. He never lived to reach his peak. He was just taken off. And those last 4 years, he could be summed up in saying he never yielded. He never yielded, not to chemo, not to the surgeries, not to the pain meds. He never yielded. He never yielded. And my brothers and my sisters, there is something about that Black Panther movie that captured us. It became required viewing for all Black people. It just like one generation, everyone saw the color purple. If you had melanin in your skin, you knew Seeley and Shug and Harpo and Mister. And they may not know him at First Baptist, or they may not know him down there at the river. But Black folk, 40, 50, 60, 70, everybody know the cast from the Curly Purple, where everybody knows Black Panther. Everybody knows T'Challa, and Zuri, and all the rest. And Killmonger, and Ulysses Claw. We all know that movie was the projection of the humanity and the beauty and the intelligence and the innovation and the creativity and the kindness and the strength of Black people all over the world. You know, it had the power to even bring African Americans and Africans together, because normally our communities, never the twain shall meet. They don't want nothing to do with us because they say we're the descendants of slaves, and we don't want nothing to do with them because we don't understand them, and many of them are Muslim, and in our Islamophobia, we don't have nothing to do with them. And but Black Panther brought us all together in those movie theaters, because if you was Black, it was required viewing. It not only projected a different face on Black people, but a different face on the motherland that had so tragically been primitivized by 150 years of racist Hollywood through its Tarzan series and other depictions of Africa as a primitive place. And then all with people who were inferior to the white Tarzan, the one white boy who could come into the jungle, speak to the animals. We've been there all along. We couldn't say nothing to him, but the one white boy could come and rule the whole jungle. You talking about a play on white supremacy. And the people were savage, and the land and the culture was primitive. But then in Wakanda, baby, all of a sudden you saw the superiority of the birthplace of all humanity. It humanized, it healed the global perception of Mother Africa herself. And in fact, to be true to the script of Black Panther, with Ulysses Claw wanting to get at the magical, fictitious vibranium, the metal that gave Wakanda the technological advantage over all the world, it's not too far from the truth, because the reality is no Western white European empire could ever have risen without its dependency upon the natural resources from Africa. It was in the 1880 All Africa Conference where the white European empires on the cusp of rising, Belgium and Austria and Scotland and Italy and France and Spain and Portugal and Britain and the United States as an outlier, sat down, carved up the continent of Africa on a map, because they said Africa was too rich to be left to the Africans. They wanted the palm oil and the rubber and the ivory and the zinc and the diamonds and the gold and the oil. All of their empires were dependent upon Mother Africa to power their way of life, and sought out by the most malicious and abominable and sinful means in the history of the planet Earth to expatriate the natural resources and the human resources from Africa for the hyper development of European empires, and consequentially the underdevelopment of African culture and peoples, both in the motherland and throughout the diaspora. Even in fictional movies, white nations were dependent upon what laid in the earth of Mother Africa for their hopes of rise. And so Black Panther became the projection of the goodness and the beauty and the humanity and the intelligence and the virtue and the hopes and the dreams of Black people all over the globe, and healed even the perception of Mother Africa herself. For some of us, it was so real that literally thousands of Black people in this country were calling travel agents inquiring about the cost of a round ticket to Wakanda, because we wanted to believe it was true. Because if it was, I sure would be on my way there right now. Wakanda forever, baby. But I come to tell you this morning, Chadwick Boseman, who, yes, he did burst on the scene with Jackie Robinson. Yes, he did James Brown. Yes, he did Thurgood Marshall. Yes, he did 21 Bridges. Yes, he did Five Bloods. And yes, he did so many other movies. But his signature work will always be our Black Panther. And that he met his demise at 43 years of age, after living such an exemplary and healthy life. I fit him into the frame of the complaint and the testimony that I find here in Job, the 13th chapter, the 15th through the 18th verses. Y'all got time for this? I always like to say that to an empty church, because there ain't really nobody to say they don't. And Job was like the Black Panther. He was a man of achievement and virtue. He was a man of means that he acquired through merit. They weren't inherited, they were earned. He got it the old-fashioned way. He reaped on the back end what he sowed on the front end through sweat equity, application of talent consistently, and his outcomes reflected his inputs. And right when he was at the zenith of his life, tragedy struck. And in short order, he lost his health, he lost his wealth, he lost his loved ones. And when sickness had so overtaken his body that his wife came to him and said, "Job, curse God and die." Which for her, that shorthand in that culture, for they believed that if you cursed God, that in the wrath of God, God would take your life. So she said that not out of anger for God, but she said that out of mercy for her husband, who was so sick that she wanted him to be put out of his misery. After 33 years of pastoring, I've been in a lot of hospital rooms, listening to people asking me to pray that God would spare them while they were groping for breath, hooked up to ventilators. And as I looked upon a pathetic sight in front of me, while the family was praying that God would spare them, in my heart, I was wondering if whether or not they'd be better off if God took them. And Job was so filled with sickness that his wife, for sake of pity, said, Job, here's a means of euthanasia. Curse God and put an end to your earthly sorrow. I'd rather see you dead than to suffer like that. And it was from that state where Job's previous statements of resolve ran out. It's in the second chapter where Job says, Lord, naked came I in this world, naked shall I return hither. The Lord gave, the Lord taketh away. But it's when we get into these later chapters, the balance of the book is where Job begins to levy a petition against God. He literally shows up and calls court to order. The case is the people, me namely Job, the people against God. And his charges against God are simple. God, you're killing me. But he prefaces his petition by saying, and it's an amazing thing, Carissa, he prefaces it by saying, Lord, though you slay me, yet shall I serve you. Before I put my petition before the councils of eternity, God, I want you to know I ain't gonna stop serving you, because realistically, I ain't got nowhere else to go. But God, I'm showing up today saying, you're killing me. But still, I got to serve you. That's an amazing paradox when we're in that moment in faith where life is falling down in such a place where you call court to order. You subpoena God to show up in court to present your case, the people versus God. Here's the charge. God, you are killing me, even though I ain't got nowhere else to go, so I'm going to still serve you. But I want to tell you to your face, and you going to hear my case, you killing me. And Job wants us to be clear. He says, no hypocrite would come before God. Revelations tells us that we have a God with flaming eyes, which is a metaphor for the consuming nature of fire that purifies gold, that burns up stubble. So any pretense a person has burns up when looked at through the eyes of the God whose eyes are like fire. Any mask you may be wearing, you know, the word hypocrite literally meant actor. It's how they referred to people in theater, people who put on masks and play a role. And we do that every day. We put on masks and play a role. If you black, when you go to white corporate America, you put on your mask, your friendly, non-threatening Negro mask, and you go and play a role. And Job wanted you to know, but when we call God to court, God's got flaming eyes. Your mask don't work with God. Your visage don't work with God. God knows how you're really living, how you're really feeling. So he says, I'm not no fool who has lived wrong. I may not be perfect, but God, I've ordered my steps in your word, and you're still killing me. Job stands as a man whose life, he may not be perfect, but he's exemplary enough to where I don't deserve what has been going on. And God, you will take my case. That's literally what he says in his opening remarks. God, you will take my case, and my case is you killing me, even though I have to say up front, I'm still going to serve you. I ain't saying I'm going nowhere. Like Celie said about when Shug says, I'm going to give up on God, she said, no, it's hard to live without God, even if you don't know what he's doing. Where should I go seeking a refuge for my soul? Needing a friend to save me in the end, where should I go but to the Lord? I ain't got nowhere else to go. I don't really realistically speaking, I ain't got no options. So I'm going to serve you, but I'm going to still subpoena you here, God, because you're killing me. And the three things that we learn from the experience of Job and the Job-like Black Panthers, and the Job and the Black Panther in you and the Job and the Black Panther in me, and I think there's a lot of us during this time of global pandemic, during this time of black folk getting shot in the back while white folks can shoot and kill and walk up to the police, get a high five and a bottle of water and go home and turn themselves in on their own terms and nobody gets shot. That stuff will mess with your psyche. I don't know about you, but I'm about to lose my mind up in here. And I'm sick of most of my white clergy friends who never even bring this stuff up in their congregations other than to say that blue lives matter or all lives matter. No. This is about black lives matter, because black life is the one that's got a bullseye on it and the one that's being assaulted. And so here, there's a lot of Black Panther. There's a lot of Job in all of us. And we learn two things from these men. I bleed them together today. And number one, when God is killing you, when you think God is killing you, first thing you got to do is push past the self-pity. Push past the self-pity. See, the ancient people believed, they had a simple theology. Job is actually the oldest material in the Bible. Genesis is chronologically listed first, but Job is actually the oldest material in the Bible because the oldest question humanity ever faced is that of why so much pain? And Lord, why do we find ourselves on the receiving end of unearned suffering? See, when I'm speeding, I'm going 80 in a 35 and the police pull me over, that ain't no black issue. That's a driving issue. When I get arrested because I got 100 kilos of cocaine in the trunk of my car and I'm the victim of a drug sting because they've been tracking me waiting to make the big bust, that ain't no racism issue. That's a drug issue. When the neighbors call the police because they can hear me through the whole block, they can hear my wife screaming because I'm slapping her up, and then the police come and want me down on the ground, that ain't no black issue. That's a domestic violence issue. When you treat your body like a toilet and drink and drugs flow like a river and fat and cholesterol, the basic staples in your diet, and the only exercise you get is lifting your fork to your mouth, and then you suffer a heart attack, that ain't got nothing to do with disproportionalities in the healthcare system. That's bad living that leads to bad health. There's a connection there between what you sowed and what you reaped, but Job's problem is what he sowed is not what he reaped, that he has lived right, but life has turned out wrong, and he shows up to say, God, for reasons I can't explain, you killing me and you've been unfair. It's the issue of unearned suffering. When you're 43 years of age and you're a vegan to begin with and you live life healthy and you don't do drink and don't do drugs and you try to keep up with your exercise and then you feel a little funny and you got cancer already at stage 3 and aggressive, that's not fair. You know, a year ago, Carissa can tell you, I used to brag about the fact that I was the only person in my family over the age of 40 didn't have diabetes, didn't have high blood pressure. In the trunk of my car, since I was 20-some years of age, since I got my first car, Roosevelt, I always kept 3 things: some sneakers, a basketball, and a Frisbee. Why? Sneakers and a basketball, because if anybody wanted to talk trash, we could pull over anywhere, we could find a hoop, and we could solve this right now. And I had a Frisbee, Ron, because of UPS out on the lawn. I learned to throw Frisbee in college, and sometimes on a hot, warm day, I'd just go to a park and find any old stranger and throw a Frisbee. They're not in my trunk now because of everything that's happened in my life. In the last year, 4 surgeries later, I can't play no basketball. I can't throw no Frisbee because I can't chase it down. And to live your whole life being the one who never did no kind of drugs, sparing with alcohol, stayed in the gym, living healthy, and then all of a sudden, I spend the better part of the last year with drugs coursing through my body, keeping the entire pharmacy afloat by myself, pain that caused me to scream hysterically like a newborn baby and limping along, a piece in a shell of my former physical self, and people who's lived life treating their body like a toilet, they striding along, and now I'm limping. Tell me how that's fair. And the first thing we have to get over when life is not fair is the feelings of self-pity that are reduced to the one word, why? Why me? And see, the book of Job is about letting us know that in this life, it rains on the just and the unjust alike. Sometimes the righteous suffer while the wicked grow fat off the land. There is no one-to-one correlation in life between inputs and outcomes. Yes, you reap what you sow to a degree, but you can sow some stuff you did not. You can reap some stuff you did not sow. You can till your garden and still wake up in the morning and see some weeds that you didn't plant them seeds for. Come on, somebody. And have to deal with the fact that while we are on our way to heaven, this is not heaven, this is earth. And on earth, shift happens even to the best of us. Did you hear what I said? I said, in this life, shift happens to the best of us. Now, I put an F in there because I got to be polite because I'm standing in the pulpit. But in your own mind, you can take the F out because you know what I'm trying to say. But I got to say it politely. In this life, shift happens to the best of us. Those of you out there in the digisphere, touch who's ever next to you and tell them, in this life, shift happens to the best of us. Come on, somebody. Because the beginning of your deliverance starts with this, realizing that though you've been good, or at least tried to be, it doesn't insulate you from the random experience of pain and suffering in this life, because in this fallen creation, shift happens to the best of us. Not only to once in a lifetime actors, not only to proud preachers who place too much confidence in their physical vitality, but to any one of you trying to do right, it does not guarantee you that the slings and the arrows of the enemy won't find you anyway. And you got to get past your feelings of self-pity and accept the fact that in this life, shift happens to the best of us. And then while you're dealing with that, along with that, layered over with that, because they happen all at the same time, you not only got to deal with the fact that shift happens to the best of us, get past the self-pity, but you also have to press through the pain. Because anything traumatic enough to cause you to fling from your lips the words, why me, also is acutely painful. Anything, Dotsy, that caused you to ask God, why me, and subpoena God to the courts of eternity, is something that is causing you acute pain, whether it's physically, whether it's psychologically, whether it's emotionally, whether it's pain in your body, your psyche, your spirit, or your soul. It's acute pain. I'm not talking about no little ache or no little soreness. I'm talking about acute pain. The kind of pain that make you cry like a baby. When you've been faithful in relationship, loved your partner with everything you got, been available to them every way that you can, emotionally, physically, financially, socially, and still they turned elsewhere or turned away, that is a pain. Gardner Taylor said there are psychic indignities far more painful than any nails that you can drive through your hands, and you got to press through the pain. It's an amazing thing that Chadwick Boseman, that while he was filming Black Panther, found out that he had stage 4 cancer. And then in the 7 movies he did after that, over the next 4 years, he did them in between chemotherapies and surgeries and the pain pills. And I learned a lot about pain in the last year. And pain is something that will mess with your mind. And my brothers and my sisters, one of the things that we have to learn how to do in life is to press through the pain. I'm reminded of my great aunt Dora, the late Doretha Patterson Williams. And when Sheila and I visited her right after Carissa was born, way back in in the summertime of 1993 when she was only about 6-7 months old. And my Aunt Dora had been a showgirl during the Great War. She was tall and beautiful and high cheekbones and long chin and long wavy hair. That Native American blood showed up. And she had long pretty fingers dolled up with diamonds because she did good with her money. And she was the life of the party. She had charisma popping off the walls. And then one day when she was drawing her water in her Lower East Manhattan apartment, she felt a kind of pull as she bent over. Within 15 minutes, she was gnarled up on the floor as rheumatoid arthritis set in. She ended up having to have 2 knee replacements, 2 hip replacements, 2 elbow replacements, and her long, angular fingers were gnarled up like this, and she spent her days alone in her lower northeast apartment, talking to the few friends she had, pressing the buttons, the enlarged buttons on her special speakerphone. And one day, when I got up in the morning, she was sitting there on her couch, and she was trying to get up to get on her walker to ambulate across the room, and it took her, seemed like forever, to scoot to the edge of her sofa and then rock herself several times to get up enough velocity to lunge forward onto the walker. And then she pitifully, slowly ambulated across the room with grimaces on her face, and she sensed me watching her, and she looked at me and she said, "Don't feel sorry for me, baby, because the pain is only physical." At 31 years of age at the time, I didn't understand that, because Barbara and Daryl, I was still striding up staircases 3 and 4 stairs at a time, wasting more energy than I had to, and living carefree days from a pain concept at that point. And I didn't understand somebody being under that kind of pain and still telling jokes, still smiling all day long, still being open and gracious to others. But I got a sense of how she got to that point where she had joy in her sorrow when I got up one morning and she was still in the midst of her morning devotion, and I heard her singing the last stanza to that old song, Leave It There. And it said, "When your youthful days are gone and old age is stealing on and your body bends beneath the weight of care, he will never leave you then. He'll go with you to the end. Take your burdens to the Lord and leave it there. He will never leave you then. He'll go with you to the end. Take your burdens to the Lord and leave it there. He will never leave you then. He'll go with you to the end. Take your burdens to the Lord and leave it there. Because if you trust and never doubt, he will surely bring you out if you take your burdens to the Lord and leave it there." And she sang that over and over and over again. He will never leave you then. He will go with you to the end. He will never leave you then. He'll go with you to the end. He will never leave you then. He'll go with you to the end. And then finally she started saying, "Glory, glory, glory." And I come to tell you today, you got to press through the pain, because even when you call God to court and say, "God, you're killing me. Though you slay me, I still got to serve you so that you'll never leave me, but go with me to the end." You got to push past the self-pity, press through the pain, and then you got to continue in purpose. And continuing in purpose, people, is simply just showing up and continue to do what you do as long as you have the chance. Jesus put it this way: "I must work the works of him that sent me while it is day. Well, when time comes, no man can work." What choice did Bozeman have but to just keep on making movies? That's what you do. And I'm going to go to the doctor and go back to the set. And I'm going to go to the doctor, go back to the set. And I'm going to go to chemo and go back to the set. I'm going to go there and I'm going to go back to the set. What choice did you have? After the infection got in the knee, what choice did I have? I was supposed to be in recovery, and then COVID hit, and sometimes you don't plan what your recovery collided with what I needed. You called to preach, you got a congregation, get your butt up off the bed and get on back up to church and sit on that stool. What else can you do but walk in your purpose? You know, I Leslie David Braxton, called to be an apostle unto Jesus Christ by the will of God. Come on, somebody. All I could do is get back to preaching and get back to leading. Have I got a witness? Because you can't put tragedy on no schedule. You do what you do. You just continue to show up. And that's all I came by to tell somebody. Like Job, you may have sickness in your body, but just show up. You may have a spot on your x-ray, but just show up. You may have a problem at home, but if you sing, just show up and sing. You may have physical issues yourself, but you play in the band. Just get back in the band. You may have a trouble on your job. You may not have no job. You may not know where your next meal coming from, but if media services is your ministry, just get back in the booth. Just do what you do. Just walk in your purpose. I heard the elders say, I keep so busy working for my master, I ain't got time to die. When the time comes to die, when he calls my name, I shall answer him. But when he calls me, he won't find me sitting down. Have I got a witness? When he calls me, he won't find me on my back. Have I got a witness? When he calls me, he won't find me feeling sorry for myself. When he calls me, he won't find me complaining about the white man. Have I got a witness? When he calls me, he won't find me crawled up in a corner somewhere. But when he calls me, he will find me telling the world I'm still a nobody, trying to tell everybody about somebody who can save anybody. Our preacher standing up straight. Our preacher sitting on a stool. Our preacher with a limp. Have I got a witness? But I must work the works of him that sent me while I have the chance. Have I got a witness? No matter what happens, I will not yield. Sickness may come, but I will not yield. Heartbreak will come, but I will not yield. Pandemics will come, but I will not yield. Trump may get reelected, but I will not yield. We may get shot in the back, but I will not yield. Haven't you noticed? I have not yielded, and I am not dead. Touch your neighbor and say, neighbor, I have not yielded, and as you can see, I am not dead. Despite it all, through it all, I am not dead. Have I got a witness? But I ain't talking about T'Challa now. I'm looking past the Black Panther to the real superhero on a hill far away. He took the nails in his hands, took the spikes in his feet, took a sword in his side, laid him in a borrowed tomb, but come back Sunday morning, he got up, he lives, he never yielded, and he is not dead. Never yielded, and he is not dead. And because he lives, I can face tomorrow. Say yeah. Because he lives, oh, my fears are gone. Say yeah. Say yeah. Say yeah. Hey, hey, hey. In uncertain times, never yield. Never yield. Call God to court if you have to. Levy your legitimate complaint in your unearned suffering. But push past the self-pity. Press through the pain. I know it hurts. It hurts like hell. Hurts like hell. Right now, this stuff I'm seeing around me hurts like hell. It hurt me bad enough to see that man stick his knee on another man's neck callously and almost smile for the camera. to tell all of us, because it just could have been Dotsie or Nat or Ron, that your lives don't matter. Nobody gonna do nothing about you. You people don't matter. To shoot a man walking away in the back 7 times, I don't care nothing about no knives. I seen soul food. Y'all saw Vanessa Williams grab that knife. You been to the family reunion. We've disarmed people with a knife. Ain't nobody got shot. You a trained officer. Nobody even saw the knife. Even if it was there, we know how to take away a knife without killing nobody. Why you don't know? It's your attitude about us. But that wasn't what really hurt. What really hurt is to see a white boy with a long gun kill 2 people and blow off another man's arm and walk up to the police with the gun at the ready. And he got a high five in water. Because even when he murdered somebody, his life mattered. That put it all into perspective. That hurt me so bad. That hurt me so bad. That hurt me so bad. I'm beyond exhausted. I'm beyond angry. I'm beyond numb. I don't even know what I am. I can't even describe my emotional state other than to say, God, you're killing me. I'm trying to tell others about joy and hope and peace. I'm trying to tell them that there is a God that says that I come that you might have life and have it more abundantly, and all they're experiencing is pandemic and unemployment and poverty and abuse. How am I going to convince them that you're still on your throne when everything around them says something different? You're killing us, God, but we ain't got nowhere else to go. So I'm just going to show up and keep doing what I'm doing. And you notice, catch this. Job says, you going to vindicate me. And you know what that word means? It means that they believe that if bad things happen to you, it's because you did something bad. And the good things come your way, it's because you did something good. So Job ultimately was saying, Lord, people are looking at me and I'm suffering. They wondering, what did I do to bring this on me? What did I do? And you know, we the only people in the world who get shot and get blamed for our own murder. They kill us. And somebody said, well, what did he do? What did we do? What did Emmett Till do to get himself killed? What did Trayvon do to get himself shot? What did them 4 little black girls in church do to get themselves bombed? What did Schwerner Goodney and Cheney do to get themselves disemboweled and lynched? What did Sandra Bland and Freddie Gray and Eric Gardner do? What did he do to get himself in that chokehold? What did Breonna Taylor do? What did Ahmaud Arbery do to get tracked? He must have done something. And Job says, Lord, you got to vindicate me. If not in this life, in the life to come. And so ultimately, vindication meant, Lord, I'm going to just keep showing up. And in my showing up and how I live my life, I want it, as people read me, and we're living epistles for all men to read, I want somebody to see, even by how I deal with the unfairness of my life, that I want them to see that I am a child of God. So you may shoot me in my back, but I want to live in a way that you know that I am a child of God by how I dealt with it. So I just want to tell my people who've come over a way that with tears has been watered and tread a path through the blood of the slaughter, let us conduct ourselves so that the world will know we are a child of God, and God will vindicate us even though it slays us. Just keep showing up. Nobody told me that this road would be easy.
I don't believe he's brought me this far to leave me.
I don't feel
no waste time.
come too far
From
where I started from. Nobody told me.
Nobody told me.
Oh, Say it again. I don't believe. No matter what they do, no matter what they do, I come way too far. How many of you have been traveling a long time and have come a long way? Nobody ever told me. They never told me it'd be easy. They never told me it'd be easy. I don't believe. I don't believe. He's brought me this far. Oh no, I don't believe. Brought me this far. Despite the heartache and the pain, brought me this far. Despite the sickness, even the rain, I've been up and I've been knocked down. I've been level to the ground, but I don't believe. Oh no, I don't believe. He's brought me this far. Listen, I don't believe that he picked me up. He's brought me this to let me down. I don't believe. He didn't teach me to swim to let me drown. Didn't build his home in me to then move away. Oh, you slay me, yet shall I serve you. Oh, you slay me, yet shall I serve you. Oh, I don't believe. Oh, no. Oh, I don't believe. No. I don't believe. I refuse to believe. You can't make me believe. You can't make me doubt him, 'cause I know too much about him. You can't make me doubt him, 'cause I know too much about him. He picked me up. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And he turned me around. He set my feet. A Holy Ghost I don't believe. This is what you got to say to yourself at midnight. I don't believe. When the pain is doubled and your friends are gone, you just got to say, I don't believe. When you see a prejudiced, misogynist, racist, nationalist, vulgar, inhumane, corrupt, diabolical, criminal, gangster, so-called president trying to steal an election and destroy the nation along the way, still I don't believe there is a God above with an arm of power and a heart of love. I don't believe. Oh no, oh no, oh no, I don't believe. I don't believe. I don't. I won't. I just don't believe. Oh no, I don't believe he brought me this far.